So this presentation is all about Flockstar, and Flockstar is an app that started out as really a small-time little hobby thing for me, for tracking our backyard chicken flock. But really, Flockstar is way more than that now. It's poultry management, and it's aimed, of course, it's simple and fun to use, and a lot of backyard chicken people use it, but it's really aimed at kind of the prosumer crowd and the small business crowd who need tools to help run their business or their side hustle. Like I said, I'm a software engineer. I'm really in management, I guess. So I don't code during my day job too much, but I still am really technical, and I love to code and learn new things. I'm an experienced backyard chicken enthusiast. I'm in Virginia. This is a little shot of my squad. We have 8, and they're all different breeds. It was actually 6 of them are new this year. So we had our first flock back in 2016 of 4 chickens. At the time, you can only have 4 chickens, 4 hens. And now 2 of those hens are still alive. They're over 7 years old. And we just added 6 new ones, and they're just starting to lay eggs. So I've been in my own app quite a bit lately. This is our coop. Just this part. Everybody always asks me when I show this picture, but this is our garage. But the coop is this like leaning up against it, and they have a nice run. So that's our setup, our urban backyard chicken setup. The app started out really as just a hobby. And when we got the first chickens years ago, our daughter was, I guess, maybe 8 years old at the time. And we were tracking, we only had 4, and we learned who was laying the eggs by spying on them, basically. So we learned who laid each egg, because they were different colors. And we were tracking on the whiteboard, like kind of like a contest, like who's the winner, who's the leader of the group. And out of that came the idea, like, oh, I have to build an app for that. I have to build a way. I didn't even look if there is one. I was like, I have to build that. And that became my side project. And it first got released to the App Store in 2018. And it was, the original Flockstar was really basic. It's nowhere near the full featured kind of flagship app that it is now. It was just out there for free. I didn't even tell anybody. I put it out there for me, basically. And over time, over years, a lot of people found it, and it got pretty popular. In fact, during those 3 or 4, I guess 4 or 5 years of it being out there, it grew to several thousand people. And over those years, I got a lot of emails, a lot of people reaching out. They liked the app, but they wanted this, they wanted that. There was many features, besides egg tracking, that people wanted. It didn't even really have like a way to save the data in the cloud. It was like all on your phone. So like people would lose all their data because their phone crashed or got broken. So over those years, I gathered a lot of experience about like what people want. And I decided in 2022 to just build a new Flockstar from the ground up. And that's the Flockstar that's out there now. And it's not free anymore. It has a kind of a low cost subscription. That's how I stay motivated to do this. It's just me. I'm literally a solopreneur, you might call it, or a side hustle solopreneur, doing this in my nights and weekends. It took me most of 2022. I think I figured out, I started working on the new Flockstar in March, and I was able to put it in the App Store for sale in December, right before Christmas last year. So it took most of the year, many hours, but it's been really fun. Like I totally enjoy it. And it's kind of my side hustle now. So we just get enough eggs to feed our family, and I give them to our neighbors so they don't complain. But my app is kind of my side hustle, and I have dreams. Like, so, I have future plans. I'm kind of in the mode where I would like to grow the app and add the features that people need. And, maybe one day it could be my real job. At a high level, these are the features, and I'm going to walk through on a device and show you all these, but it helps you with organizing your flocks. So, a flock, the concept of a flock is just a group. A flock can be anything arbitrary, and I'll show you in the demo. And then every flock can have flock members, and those are your birds. You know, you can have a profile for each and every bird and put their picture and see their stats and record eggs individually per member. But you don't have to do that. That's one of those optional things. You can track your egg production, and that can be done by individual bird, like I said, or just in bulk. So if you get, you know, if you have a lot of quail and you're picking up 50 eggs a day, you probably aren't going to go and track them by bird. So that's called a bulk entry. You can also track your expenses, your sales. It's a pretty basic expense and sales tracking, but it gives you just enough. And I do have plans, you know, I would love to expand that part of the app over time. So. And then there's a journal system, so you can keep notes both at the flock level and individual birds. So if you're administering any kind of medication, molting cycles, broodiness, you can also do entries at the flock level about feed times, feed amounts, things like that. And then just from a technology standpoint, it's available for iOS and Android. It does not actually have a web version. So I kind of made that on purpose. Like, people like apps on their phone, especially this type of app. It's really, I surveyed some of my users a few months ago, and like hardly anybody cared about a web app. So right now it's iOS and Android. Everything's stored in the cloud. It uses a secure process. It's kind of, your data is locked down to you by your email address. So I'll show you the email sign-in process, but that's the only piece of information that I collect, is just a way to sign you in and secure your data in the cloud. It synchronizes across devices. So if you have more than one person in your household or in your business that's you know, tracking the flock, you can have everything kind of in almost real time. I don't know if anybody on this has already been doing this, but it's actually really awesome. You can have two phones, you know, one in each hand, and log an egg on one, and like moments later, or really instantly, it appears on the other. It's private and secure. So, you know, I'm very focused on not collecting data about you deliberately. So like I said, I need your email address because I do need a way to reasonably be sure that you are you. So, you know, if you sign in, that means you can get to the inbox, you know, that your email goes to. And I use a magic link sign-in process. It's called passwordless sign-in. So it like I said, the security, it's mostly around how secure you keep your Gmail or your Hotmail inbox. So as long as it's just you, then you can feel pretty confident that your data is secure. The sign-in process, I just want to show you, this is how things look. You put in your email address, Flockstar. I have, you know, kind of a canned presentation demo here. So I'm putting in my email address, send a link, and that goes to my Gmail. So I'll switch to Gmail, and then I just got the email from Flockstar, and I click this link here, and then I'm now signed in. It knows it's, you know, I'm signed in as my support at flockstarapp.com. Or actually, no, I'm signed in as my fake Gmail account. That's how you get help if you need it, right here. That's me. So, you know, when you first sign up, when you first get signed in, you know, it asks you for, you know, how you want to subscribe. And the subscriptions are run through either the App Store if you're on Apple, or Google Play if you're on Android. This is a demo account who's already had the free trial and it's expired. The whole thing's expired. So it says that your subscription is expired. But if you're a brand new user, it'll say right here, 1 week free trial. So you do have to start this, but as long as you cancel during that 1 week, you'll never get billed. So if you try it out for a few days, it's not for you, just go into your Android subscriptions and cancel it. You can cancel it right away and you still get the first week, and you can keep kicking the tires on it. I recommend just doing annual. But if you're not really sure, it's $2 a month. Pick whichever one you want. You can change from monthly to annual if you want. if you want to try it out for a couple of months. So let me go ahead and do that. This is, again, like a test system. So this is like the Google Play subscription in-app purchase flow, but it's like a test one. So it's using a fake credit card, but it works just like this in the real world. So that's it. That's the sign-in process, and that's literally the only piece of information I have about you is your email address. So sometimes people forget which email address they used when they signed up, and then they sign back in or on another device with the wrong one, and then they send me an email and say I deleted all their data, but it was really just that they used the wrong email address. So that's how that works. Signing up and signing in is the same. It's just you put in your email address, you go to your inbox, click the link, and if you've never done it before, it signs you up, and you now have an account. And if you've done it before, then you're just signing in. It's really simple. I kind of wanted it to be that way. No passwords. Once in a while, the magic link, just to, there's thousands of users, but occasionally people have trouble where the link doesn't work. And it's usually, if your phone has if you're part of your company's IT organization and they spam check all the emails, what happens is that link gets kind of pre-clicked and it won't work. So I've learned that that's an issue occasionally, but very small percent. But there's a little backdoor way that you can sign in with the password. So if anybody ever has trouble, just reach out to me and I'll tell you what to do. All right. So let me go ahead and get logged in on my iPhone, because I've got kind of some good sample data set up in here. Now I'm signed in. This is kind of how it looks when you first sign up. You have one flock already here for you, and it's called Chickens. It is a kind of a chicken-centric app at this time, but it's very easy to change. So that's just your default flock. So if you have nothing to do with chickens, you just click this pencil, change it to anything you want. You can rename it. But instead of doing that, I'm going to make another flock, just because I think it's important to walk through how you can have multiple flocks. And this is where you can get really creative about how you want to organize things. I think, Linda, you even said you have things that aren't birds in yours. So that's just click everything in Flockstar on all these screens, the little orange button. This is the add button. So on whatever screen you're on, that's how you do stuff. So if you want to add a new flock, you click new flock. And here I'll put quail. And a lot of this extra stuff is optional, but if you want to put the date you started, little comment or description about it. You can even add a picture. Let me see, I put some here, let me put these quail in here. All right, so now I've got another flock. And you see that I don't have any members in this one. This one has 4. So these are some chickens that I already had in there. Each flock member, you can see some details about them. I can go back and switch to quail, and on quail, I don't have any yet. So I would click the orange button, add a member, and I'll just put, number 1 for now. And then a lot of this is optional, but it's kind of fun to do. When it comes to breeds, I don't preload any breeds. This is kind of free text, but as you type in the breeds, so I'm going to put in some chicken breeds, just because that's what I know. And you can put hatch dates. You can put, genders. And that's all kind of optional. Sometimes people use unknown if you've got some chicks and you're not sure yet. And of course, you can add a photo of every flock member if you want to. I just grabbed some random Google images. So that I've got one now, and if I want to make a bunch of them, I can duplicate that one and just give it a different name. This little lightning bolt brings up a list of any breeds that you've typed in on other ones, so it makes it kind of a quick way to select, and you'll see that on other screens too, for expenses and sales, things like that. So that's member 2. So now I've got a couple, and as long as these are indicated as female in the, let me go back to edit. for the sex, then you would have options for like logging an egg. So if you know which flock member logged an egg, you can assign an egg directly to that one. You can do other things in here too, like the journal entries. So that's basically flocks. So flocks, what's really, as a developer, I kind of thought this would be different species, like just like this, quail and guinea fowl or ducks, turkeys. I've seen it all, but I also see a lot of users who are doing their organizing by things like pen number or coop number or location on a farm, or by egg color. So a lot of large chicken flock owners will create flocks and they're like brown eggs, white eggs, colored eggs, and they harvest eggs by color and they log them by color. So it's really up to you. I've seen people put cows, and I was helping somebody who had a little support issue, and when I clicked into their cow flock, it was like literally pictures of cows. So it's one of those moments where I had some light bulbs going off, like, that there's probably an opportunity to help, like in general, livestock, small business livestock beyond birds. But yeah, it really gives you a lot of flexibility. You could sort your flocks in different ways, by how many are in it or when it was started. And then when you're in here looking at the flock members, I have a lot of users that have dozens of members per flock, I think hundreds even. And so you can sort and filter those. You can mark them as inactive. Inactive is purposely, I know there's some work to do on inactive, like right here, it's checked, this is an active member. Active is kind of generic, like some people mark their member as inactive if they're dead, or maybe they just stopped laying, but they're still alive. So there's probably some granularity in future versions that we can do around status, but for now, it's just either active or not. And if you make them inactive, it kind of like hides them in the list, but you can show them here by toggling this button. So that's kind of the first step, is like set up your flocks, organize it the way you want. You can move things around. If you hit, I'm sorry, if I drill into quail, if I made a mistake, I can go in and change. I can move this to the chicken flock. That's no problem. And now, that one is in the chicken flock. So that's flocks. So just to get into flock egg tracking, like that's kind of the bread and butter of my app, is how it started, is for egg tracking. So when you get onto this screen, it always starts in the current month, but you can have different views depending on what makes the most sense. Like you can look by week. Week is nice because it gives you only 7 bars, and it's like it's a little easier to see. I think most people go by month. That's what the default is, but you can also do the entire year. So just going to go back to month, and you can press down on these. If you push on these bars, it gives you a little pop-up, to show you, I mean, you can kind of tell it's 5 because of the legend over here, but when you start tracking across multiple flocks, the bars will be different colors per flock. So it's nice to touch the bar. You can see, like, how many are in each. And in fact, let me go back. I think I deleted. Yeah, I still have my quail flock here. So what I'll do is demonstrate first the bulk entries. So right now I haven't logged any eggs for quail. I have created the flock, but no eggs. And I haven't actually added any members. They're just a flock. So the way I could track is using this bulk entry feature. So going back to the orange button, when you're on the eggs tab, the orange button gives you 3 options: bulk entry, individual egg, and quick logger. And I'll show you the quick logger last, but that's really a way for doing individual eggs quickly across different flock members. So for the purpose of what we're just talking about, bulk entry is what we're interested in. So I'm going to switch it to quail. And let's say I had 25 eggs and maybe I found 3 damaged eggs. And then if you want, you could just take the whole basket. If you have a gram scale, just weigh the whole basket. I assume quail eggs are probably really small. So maybe the whole basket weighs 400 grams. And then if you wanted, you could add a photo. I have users who literally put a photo of every single collection they do. So let's just say, you add a photo because that day was like really special in some way. So now you can see my chart looks a little funky because all of the other logging was like 4 or 5 eggs, and now all of a sudden I have 25. Let me edit that entry, bring it down to maybe like 8 or 9, just so it doesn't mess up the trend too much. And I'll come back to this in a moment, like how you do editing. I just want to do it kind of quick for now. Where's the quail entry? So let's make it like 7 and 1, and maybe it's like 100 grams. All right, so that makes it a little better. So you can see I have 2 different colors on this day because, today I had some chicken eggs and some quail eggs. And if I touch this, I can see that I had one for chickens and 7 for quail. So it's kind of cool. As you push your finger across here, you'll see that little call out. And then these little dots, this would be the collection count for the same period in the month before. So it's kind of handy to see. You can kind of spot some trends. If I go back 1 month, I can see these dots are really for the month before that. Some people don't like the dots, so you can turn those off with this little gear. It's all up to you. So you can see for October, again, this is not real. This is just like a development test data. So this is not, super realistic, but got 68 eggs collected so far in October. I'm down 21 from last month. And if I go back a month, I can see I had 89 last month, which was 2 higher than the prior month. So it kind of gives you each month or each time period. You could do it by week and see your weekly trends too. So like this week was up 4, I'm down 9. It's pretty flexible in terms of like what you want to see. And if you do record your weights, it's nice because it kind of shows you your weight trends. And then it keeps your average eggs per day. It's important to keep in mind, at least for now, like when you're in a partial month or a partial week, that has not completed yet, like, there's still 2 days. It's a little bit like the current period is a little bit off in terms of your averages because it's still going by 7. You really need to go back. It's more useful for the completed weeks to spot those trends. I'm looking into maybe for the current week, I would only include the days that we've actually had, and the incomplete days are not in, but minor thing, hasn't really come up too much. If you are tracking individual layers, it's kind of a fun little feature. This is kind of stemming from the original hobby app from the original Flockstar, but the idea of Flockstar was to see like who your star is, like who's your winner. So there was always a leaderboard, and I still really enjoy it. Like I've got these new 6 chickens, and one of them, the barred rock, is like far and away blowing everybody out of the water. It's cranking out an egg every day. So that's the leaderboard. And then just to show you the individual egg collection, if you know who laid the egg, you can pick that layer and that individual egg. And even some people put a picture. If it's damaged, you can check that off. So that's how you can have this sort of like leaderboard. And then when you're viewing your members, just to go back to that, like I didn't go into that a second ago, but each member has a profile, and it's a really fun feature in the app in general to, if you are tracking individual eggs, you can see these kind of stats like per hen, like their longest streak, when their first egg was, when their latest egg was, heaviest, lightest, a picture, any journal entry or egg entry that has a photo attached, it puts them all here for you. So I think the chicken folks really enjoy that part of the app. So that's egg tracking. You can also filter by flock. I should have mentioned that. So if you don't really want to intermix your chart, you can just look at like this would be just, I only have that 1 entry for quail so far. Or if I just want to see the chickens, I can do that. I'll move into the finances section. There's really two views here. There's expenses and sales, all within this finances tab. There's a little summary, how many eggs you've collected. It uses the same controls as the egg tracking screen. So you can look by month, week, month, or year. And it has the exact same type of controls. You can click this little arrow and jump quickly to, a different year or a different month without having to click these little arrows one at a time. And then it basically calculates for that, whatever time period you pick, it calculates all the sales you've recorded, all the expenses you've recorded, and it gives you total profit for that period and how it compares to the prior month or prior year. And then if you're recording, if you're tracking eggs and expenses, it gives you a cost per egg. And it tells you how many entries you have, gives you the categories. And I'll go ahead and enter an expense here. Same thing, orange button is kind of the little, design choice to make it very easy to remember how to do everything. So I can add an expense, and you'll notice all the entry screens, whether it's eggs, flock members, sales, or expenses, they all kind of look the same, work the same way. It's very simple to get started. So maybe I bought something at, maybe I bought some pine shreddings, Tractor Supply. So this is another one of those lightning bolts. You can pick, vendors that you've already entered and not have to type it. And then, of course, you can have a picture of the receipt if you want, or add notes. It's up to you. And so, yeah, that's, I think it's not showing my bedding because I'm in September. So if I jump to this month, that's the entry I just did right there. So I was a little bit caught off guard. I was like, wait a minute, I know I added bedding. So, but yeah, it was for today. So if I was in September, and I wanted an entry, I would just, I didn't change that, but I could flip it to a different date. And I'll just do a miscellaneous. So there's that added to the miscellaneous for that one. Sales works exactly the same way. It has the same kind of view. It gives you how many dozen for that time period. It breaks it down by category and by customer. If you choose, you don't have to specify a customer. So here's the sale entry. So, I'll put in a sale of $24 worth of eggs. I don't know how many dozen that would be. Customer is nice because you can, just like in any other screen, if there's a lightning bolt, you can pick one that you've used before, but you can also just leave it blank. And I'll assign it to maybe the quail flock here. And just like this egg screen, you can filter by flock. So, I don't have any expenses recorded for quail, but I do have that one sale that I just entered. That's a, kind of quick tour of finances. This is an area that, I expect over time the app to evolve quite a bit, especially as I get more and more users that are like business users that are using this to help run their side business or even their full-time business. I expect to kind of mature this. So, and feedback is always welcome. Last main feature here is the journal. So this is just a note-taking system. And again, for consistency, it has the same controls, your month picker or the date range picker by week, month, and year, filter by flock. Let me just go to year to get the biggest, the biggest set of sample data. This top row on a lot of screens, it swipes left and right. So there's usually some extra things like controls. If I want to see all my notes that have a photo attached, I can filter just to those. And that's handy if you're looking for a certain thing. Like I know I took a picture, you can do it that way. You can also tag these entries. There's a little tag symbol. So if I want to see any notes related to molting, I can filter on those, or any on broody, I can do that. Like always, the orange button lets you add a journal entry, and it looks pretty much like any other entry. You pick which flock it applies to. And if you want to apply the note to a specific flock member, there is no, we didn't add any flock members, remember, for the quail flock. So let me go back to chickens. If this note is, related to one flock member in particular, you can actually pick multiples. So maybe 2 chickens, had a health issue, or maybe were given, some kind of antibiotic because they had something going on. You could certainly record that here. And if there's something about this journal entry that's noteworthy that you want to capture in a photo, you could do that. So I don't know, I'll just pick this picture of some eggs. So there's my new entry. And they're sorted by date descending. So the most recent note is always at the top. I don't think I put a sort on that, did I? No. I think because it just makes sense to see the most recent one at the top. The filtering helps you, find the ones you're looking for if I wanted to find the medication related. Now, if you assign a note to individual flock members, you'll also find that info on the flock member's profile. So if I go to Heidi, the chicken Heidi, and go to this journal button, now I'm seeing just the entries for Heidi. So, and also the egg log for Heidi. So I think the chicken users really like this feature where, they want to get a quick look at one particular hen's laying performance. So this is a really nice way to just glance at like the days where I got an egg from this hen. And you can kind of spot those, general trends. You can do a quick jump to another chicken the same way. All right, so that's the journal. And then this last tab is called activity. This is used in a lot of different ways. I'm going to explain as a developer like what I had in mind with this screen, because I think some people use it for different things. But like you have these other areas like flocks, journal entries, eggs, and sales and expenses where you can add things and you can view them. But if you need to delete or edit, change something, or you just want to spot the days where you've made entries, that's what this is intended for. This is just a way for you to look at a calendar and see the activity that you've entered in the app. And it gives you a way to drill in and like change it if you want to, or delete, and it happens. And you'll notice there's this types drop down. Every type of entry has a different color bubble here. So you can kind of, I don't think people are really like necessarily learning this, but like the green ones are your individual eggs and the pink ones are bulk entries. And so if I just want to see the days that I have bulk entries, I can, just select the pink one. And now like I can glance at my calendar, I can see the days where I have eggs. And the count here is the number of eggs for that day. So I tried to make this screen really flexible so people can get what they want out of it. Like if I don't care about the count, I can take that away because maybe I'm using it to find the days that I have journal notes. So I can, I can change it to just journal notes, and the blue dots are the journal notes. So again, I think a lot of users want this screen to be the way that they can quickly see eggs, egg days. And so you would have to kind of like change the filter. If you're logging all of these things, you would need to just change the filter to what you're looking for. Sales and expenses is probably a good, a frequently used item for this group. So, maybe you're trying to track down, like I know I logged an entry from that trip to the store, but I can't find it, or I want to attach a receipt. I found the receipt, so I could filter on expenses and go in here and find that individual one that I was interested in, and I could read the notes, or I can edit it. And now I could like attach a photo to it. Maybe it's a picture of the, I'm not doing camera, by the way. Just when you add a photo, you can just take a picture right on the spot. But because I'm using this like fake iPhone simulator, the camera doesn't work. So that's why I always drill into this photo library. I like to take my pictures first and then attach them rather than use the camera, because I also want the picture in my normal photo roll as well. So I don't know, we can just pretend this is a receipt from Tractor Supply or something. And now I've edited that one. Or if I know like a moment ago, when I first logged the quail bulk entry, I made it 25, and that was like not a good example based on these other numbers. So I needed to edit that one. So I just jumped to activity. I'll leave it on all. And I knew it was on today's date, so I just clicked that date. And then I found the quail entry, the bulk entry for quail, and I edited it and changed the number. So that's really what activity is all about, is just a way to spot the days where you've done things. Like the little camera tells you there's an entry on that day that has a photo attached, which is kind of handy. And if you don't care about that, you can turn those little things off. Or the little warning sign, that means that I have at least one entry in here with damaged eggs. And so people sometimes like to just glance across the calendar and see like all the days that they've had broken eggs. And then the last little tab is settings. So there's a few settings. I think most of your audience is probably in the US and typically has like the calendar starts on Sunday, but I've got users in different countries where they like to see the calendar, like Monday is the start of the week. I think that's common in certain countries. So I added that. Week starts on selector. Some people like their dates to look like this. Also, that's regional, depending on the country. And then I've got currency formats too. It defaults to US dollars. And this is a hidden little feature not everybody has noticed, but if whatever you use the most, like if it's bulk entries, you can set this action. So when you're on the screen and hold down the button, it jumps straight to that. So it saves one click, essentially. That's just one of those things I added because I thought it would be useful, but it might not be. Lastly, on the settings screen, I think the only other important thing to go over is you can export your data. And I know many users do this on a monthly basis or, some interval. But if you want to export like, all of it if you want, but I think sales and expenses is probably pretty good. And some people like to export their egg data because you can do things in Excel that the app can't do yet, at least. And so all you have to do is select what you want to export, hit the button. And then again, this is like a fake iPhone. So what I would do is pick the Gmail app and email it to myself. And I did that earlier. I'll show you an example. I exported my Flock members, and it comes out as a CSV file. So if you've ever worked with those, you can open them in Excel. And then I know this is like not going to show up very good on a Zoom. Let me see if I can go for broke here and open it. And I'm on a Mac, so it uses this app called Numbers. Yeah. So, here's my exported. These are my Flock members. And now I've got those. I could do something else with it. It has a link to the photos. I think expenses and sales are probably a more realistic one that you might do. Or here's eggs. If I open the eggs, this is every single egg I've ever logged in my sample data. So if you wanted to do some kind of pivot table or interesting graph that the app can't do, you could always export the data to Excel. The bottom of this just gives you some ways to contact me. Log out if you want to, delete your account if you decided it's not for you. And then it shows you like your current subscription. They auto renew in the App Store. So if you do the annual, it charges you $20 after the first week. And then you won't see another charge from Apple until the year is up. And anytime during that year, if you cancel, that'll stop it from renewing, but you can keep using it until that period runs out. So, and then on a real iPhone, if I click manage subscriptions, that takes you to that area, like in your iPhone settings, where you can like unsubscribe, like, if you just like Netflix or anything else, Spotify, like if you subscribe to the App Store, you can unsubscribe through the App Store.
So we have a question from Ryan, who said, is there a way to filter expenses by type or by supplier. Is that possible within the app?
Not yet. So like you would really need to do the export and get into Excel to do some filtering like that. I do plan on, so like if I'm looking at the month of October, and I have 3 entries, a coming feature as this evolves will be to click this row and drill into all of those entries. So maybe more realistically, you would do it for the whole year. There might be dozens of entries. And it would take you to a screen that kind of looks like the journal when I had, all of the, let me unfilter everything. It'll take you kind of like, imagine this is the list of those dozens of expenses with some filtering controls up here. So that's a vision for kind of like adding to this feature. It's pretty basic right now. I think it gives you just enough to kind of get some insight, but I do plan on, that's really what I'm kind of, my goal is to get more and more users. It motivates me to keep working at it and keep growing it, adding features, and I love getting feedback. So that's a really good one.
So there's a question from Sean Bell. What about keeping track of hatch rates? Have you been asked about that before, Brian?
Absolutely. In fact, I have a slide. I didn't finish all my slides. There's one more, future plans. So I definitely have a lot of feedback from, I have a group on Facebook. It's like there's a Facebook page, but then I have a private group. Any of you who start using the app are welcome to join it, but you have to be an actual app user to join it. I do check that because I want people joining the group who are really using the app, but many people have given feedback that they want incubation, hatching, breeding. And so that's high on my list. I don't know anything about it personally, so I'm going to totally do requirements gathering and learn from my users about what is needed there. But I do have, if you get into, it's called the Flockstar Rockstars group. There's a few power users of Flockstar in there that have found interesting ways to use the Flock system to create like their hatch groups, and then the flock members aren't actually members there. I don't know if I could articulate it well without going and looking at the thread, but like I've seen some really creative ways that a flock member is not really like one animal, it's really like a subgrouping, and so maybe those are the hatches. So the short answer is it doesn't really support hatching in the way that you want it to yet, but I do have that as a pretty high priority. Meat bird tracking has also been requested a lot. There's some really, I have learned a little bit about that in the requirements there. It doesn't support it yet, but I would love to get into that because there's some really cool things that an app like this could do to help people who are raising meat birds, like to keep track of like how many birds they have in their inventory, to kind of stay within guidelines and regulations. And the weight of each animal at any given point at certain points in time is super important. So that's on the list. I think building out, as you can see, I'm really on the track to turn Flockstar more into a business facing tool. I've realized as sort of like a startup founder, I guess, is how I view myself with this app is, I think the future for the growth of the app and for the sustainability of it is to find more of a business facing niche and to serve that. I think the hobby people doing backyard chickens, that was the inspiration that started the app. But I think for me as a developer, to make a business out of it, it really needs to help other businesses. So that's really where I'm heading. And that will include a desktop. I think the business facing users will need a more comprehensive web-based version where it's not so small, like on your phone. Like you can get a lot better data from your charts, and that sort of thing. So as all of these things, like the app will get more expensive. My goal is to keep it affordable, but $2 a month for the amount of time, like when I think about building out all of this, it's going to be a long road. And if I could grow it big enough where I could actually make it my full-time thing and maybe add a developer or two, I could really kind of get that flywheel of momentum. That's my goal. That's my dream, I guess, with this, is to really grow it like that. But all of this takes time. And so I love working on it. I do it in my free time, nights and weekends, early mornings. And I want to do the things that kind of, I focus on what I think has the most impact to the most people at any given point in time. And, so there's always that priority list, but I know web version is for the business facing, that's going to be a must. So I'm currently, the last couple of weeks, I haven't added any new features to the Flockstar that's out there now, because I've kind of been using that nights and weekends time to work on the planning for that, like version 3, that like that next big overhaul of the app. And that's kind of what this list is.
Okay. Quick question right now. This was asked earlier. Tags and categories, those are fixed. We can't add our own.
Yeah, and that if I were to get more granular about the future plans, like user defined categories, tags, even Flock, Flock, I think people really want to assign colors to the flocks themselves, so that when you look at charts and things, that the orange one is your, flock A or whatever. So that user defined thing is coming, but it's very easy. I'll tell anyone, if you start using the app, things like if you have a category or a tag that you think would be super useful, other people probably would too. So please just reach out to me, because like anytime I'm doing an update, maybe I'm fixing a bug. I just fixed a bug that somebody found yesterday. And I jump on those right away. I actually had one of the quickest turnaround times. My app is a native app that goes through the app store. So when I need to release a new one, I'm kind of beholden to Apple and Google to review and approve it. And I fixed the bug yesterday and got it through the approval all within 24 hours. It was awesome.
Wow.
But if you want to add a new tag, I can, as long as it kind of reasonably makes sense. Like, it can't be too specific to any one person, but if you have something that you think makes sense, it probably makes sense to other people, and I can add it. So until I can do that more customizable thing, always reach out to me. I kind of pride myself in being really responsive. I love talking to users. I love hearing from the users. So.
Well, and then question from Vicky, is there a way to track chick sales versus egg sales? How do people differentiate?
Yeah, I think for now, it might be fairly basic at this point in time, but when you log a sale, you can put if it's eggs. I guess I would use poultry if you're selling the actual birds, and then there's the miscellaneous. But I think sales categories, this is probably a good one. There's probably a few others that are missing here. So please reach out if you have something else you'd want to do.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Brian, this was amazing. And I will be happy to help you get started with quail.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And hopefully you've been using the app yourself for a few weeks, so hopefully you learned a thing or two about it that maybe you didn't know. I try to make it really intuitive. I don't have a lot of like help documentation, because my goal is that you don't really need it. But there is like some little tricks in there that hopefully you got something from it. So
yeah, I'm learning to track different things and use the system. And we were talking about this earlier, so I want to mention this now to everybody who's listening. One of the things that the app has done for me is I can see my cost per egg, and I love when I go and enter in my my egg count at the end of the day, because I can see that cost per egg going down. And also when I go, if I'm at Tractor Supply and I see a feeder and I'm like, oh, I think I really need that, I can look at my profit for the month or for the year and go, I'm really doing well. Do I need that feeder? So it kind of helps slow my roll a little bit on maybe buying things that I don't actually need. It makes me think twice, because I can see exactly where I am financially. All right, so let's do that. We are at 6 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock for a lot of you on the East Coast. In here, this is my shameless self-promotion for Hatching at Home. I've got everybody's names here. We're going to do the drawing for the free Quail 101 class. All right. We have Sean Davenport. you have won. So if you've already purchased Quail 101, we can set it up so you can gift it to somebody if you like. So I will be in touch with you, Sean, and congratulations. I see that you're on here, so yay. All right. And again, thank you. I wanted to publicly thank Craig Beam because he was the one who posted in one of the Quail groups about this wonderful Flockstar app, and it's changed my life. So thank you.
Nice to meet Craig. I know Craig was like the first Quail person to ever reach out to me about Flockstar, so I appreciate that. So definitely a shout out to Craig. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Linda.
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
this is Sean. This is Sean.
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you. I have taken your course. So why don't you pull somebody else's name?
Okay, all right. You know what? You can
What?
gift it. You can gift it to somebody here who really wants to know more about learning about raising quail.
Please do.
Do you want to gift it? Do you want to gift it to Brian?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Congratulations, Brian. I told you this community is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's awesome.
Yep.
No, I was telling Linda at the beginning before everybody joined, like I was downloading some pictures of quail and learning a little bit about quail, and they look so adorable for one thing. I mean, I I have to say that, but you know, I've got to do my homework to find out, like, I assume they can't live with the chickens. They probably need to have their own space.
You will learn everything that you need to know about raising quail in that course. So
Cool.
thank you, Sean. And Brian,
right.
this
welcome.
has been wonderful.
All right. Yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you at the next webinar. Bye-bye.